Portland's big pink building. This is a building that sold for $372 million, has just turned over to a new buyer who paid cash. Guy stroked a check for $45 million, an 88% discount from the previous sale. What are the implications for Portland? What are the implications, positive and negative? Well, there's both. Let's get into it. Here we go. Watch a little video.
Portland's iconic big pink skyscraper has a new owner tonight. 𝗪𝗑𝗧𝗜 bought the U.S. Bancorp Tower. 𝗧𝗜𝗑𝗧𝗏, a former telecommunications entrepreneur and automotive industry leader with deep ties to Oregon. He paid cash for the property, a move he says is part of a broader investment strategy with the goal to help revive the energy, creativity, and
Look at that. I mean, if you didn't know any better, you would say, good Lord, that is a nice looking city. And it is. It's a beautiful city. It's when you get down to that street level, you're like, oh, ooh, ooh. And there's a reason this building went from $372 million to $45 million. Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of those. We'll get into them.
Optimism that once defined the heart of the city, he says. Portland Mayor Keith Wilson hailed the sale as exactly the kind of commitment and optimism Portland needs. In a statement to K2, he said, the city is ready to work alongside Jeff to support tenants, boost confidence, and ensure that downtown remains a great place to live, work, and build.
This is part of 𝗧𝗜𝗑𝗧𝗏's broader investment strategy in Portland with the goal of reviving the energy, creativity, and optimism in the Rose City.
In a statement, Portland Mayor Wilson says the sale and 𝗧𝗜𝗑𝗧𝗏's plans for the building are exactly the kind of commitment and optimism Portland needs. He says the city is ready to work with 𝗧𝗜𝗑𝗧𝗏 to support tenants, boost confidence, and ensure that downtown is a great place to live, work, and build.
Okay, so right now I want you to focus on everything the media is saying is positive, 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 because they've got to spin this as this is the beginning of the recovery process. But keep in mind, this is the one thing I want you to keep in mind. When you have a drop from a valuation previous purchase price of $372 million to $45 million, now every property owner in Portland is going to look at the valuation of their assessed value that they're paying taxes on and say, yeah, wait a minute, that one depreciated by 88%. Mine has gone down by whatever that may be. And because commercial values are the lifeblood of funding cities, that's where this becomes interesting. Because now you have a situation where you have a fraction of the tax revenue coming through, a fraction of the excise tax on these sales. Because you got a sale at $372 million. What's excise tax on that, whatever that is, relative to $45 million? Well, it's 88% less. So all of those things contribute towards less revenue to Portland. Now, they're going to spin this as this is the commitment we need. This is the positivity. We're getting out from that trough, the trough being the flat line that Portland's in, or worse, which is death. This is what we need to buoy things up. Well, they're going to have some real pain to deal with because those tax revenues aren't going to be there. And every single building owner in Portland is going to have a justifiable right to have their assessed values dropped based on what market value is doing. 88% drop? Can't run a city on those numbers, right?
Last month, we talked with an economist who said a sale would mark a turning point that sparks the city's recovery.
This will be individuals, institutional investors, putting tens of millions of dollars into Portland saying, we believe in the future of the city and we're willing to invest at this rate. And from there, that's how growth cycle starts. We've been stuck.
Growth cycles do start there. And I agree. This is probably the beginning of a growth cycle, but it's a growth cycle with massive drop in tax revenues to the city. And also your street conditions haven't changed in Portland. Will they get better as investment continues to grow in Portland? Maybe. I mean, Portland's kind of its own animal. It's got some rough street conditions right now. You got open air drug use. You got homeless people running around. You've got some real violent crime going on. The downtown core has just been leveled out. And that's why this building is selling for what it is, because it's in a hot spot of just terrible activity.
At the bottom, because we needed this activity, this will be the beginning of the recovery.
Sales like this, what kind of impact do they have on the economic recovery of a city?
Massive. So, what we need as a city is economic development or growth. And that starts with dollars coming into the region that don't exist here today.
Okay. Dollars coming into the region, but they're coming in because they're cherry picking great deals. This is an amazing deal by a guy who went to University of Oregon, and one of his first interviews was in the Big Pink. True story. And he's saying, hey, this is a pretty full circle. I'm now buying the thing for $45 million. He's got 60 auto dealerships. He just stroked a check. Yeah, $45 million even. No sense. Just here you go. Escrow. Boom. Let's go. And he probably created a LLC and let's plop it in that.
Is the possible impact that the reduced market value of the property has on property tax collections in Portland and Multnomah County.
Yep.
But he believes the long-term good news outweighs that.
And the challenge now will be...
Okay, the long-term good news outweighs that. But you got to pay bills today. You got to pay bills with today's assessed dollars. And this is going to take years to cycle through, because it's not like assessed values get overturned overnight. You've got years and years of this process, because assessed values are based on previous valuations. And if you're not familiar with me or why I'm reporting on this, I'm background as a real estate appraiser. I've got the SRA designation from the Appraisal Institute, along with the AIRRS, a residential review designation. I've got a certified appraiser, and I'm a designated managing broker of got about 100 real estate brokers in the brokerage I own. So I'm a real estate guy. So that's why we're doing this. Let's keep going.
To do with the building. The sale advertisement for the building last month said it was 55% vacant. It has more vacant space than some entire office buildings down.
Does that make sense? I mean, this is a big vacant building. And I had read close to 60% of the space in this particular building is vacant. But at $45 million and even dumping $100 million into it, which is what he's talking about doing, you're still in it. You're still in it. A third of, or slightly less than half of what it sold for 10 years ago.
Sale does say that Swickard plans to modernize and transform the tower and its adjacent plaza as a premier office destination. Seattle-based Unico Properties is to manage the building, though.
And we're here to review. Username PDXLover on our website says, this guy has absolutely the right attitude and approach to Portland. This is a positive story, and it should be applauded.
And username OnePureLogic says 88% drop in value.
There you go.
Incredible.
All right.
Adios to commercial real estate property taxes, Portland.
Boom. That's all you need to know. 88% drop in valuation. Incredible. Say adios to commercial real estate property. I mean, that is shocking. That is absolutely shocking. Because that income stream just ain't going to be there. Because you don't have the valuation to do it. You can't expect building owners to go, I'm just going to keep paying on what these buildings were worth 5 years ago, 6 years ago in 2019, pre-pandemic. That's a hard no-go. Let's look at a couple articles. Former U.S. Bancorp Tower, locally known as Big Pink. Big Pink just sounds weird, right? Just like, pink and big and okay. The exterior of the building has kind of a pink hue to it. That's why they call it Big Pink. It was originally designed by Skidmore, Owings and Merrill. New owner has a new plan for it, and Mayor Wilson thinks it's exactly the kind of commitment. The city is ready to work alongside Jeff to support tenants. We're focused on keeping Portland clean, safe, and welcoming. See, here we are. We are focused on keeping Portland clean, safe, and welcoming. None of those things are currently in action. So they need to get there. And without political leadership, putting the city in a position where owners want to come in and purchasers want to come in and buy these buildings, you've got this guy who has fondness for Portland. He gets it. But how many other investors are you going to have come in that if they can take a shot at Portland, or they take a shot in, let's just throw out Austin or Houston. They're going to go there because you don't have the problems with leadership. You don't have Antifa absolutely going ape on ICE just a few, a mile down the road or whatever it is from Big Pink. It's not far, a couple of miles down the road. You've got some real political instability here. And I know the Portland mayor, he's pitching this as this greatest thing ever. Well, yes and no. It's a step in the right direction, but it's also a step in the wrong direction with those property values, because this sets a new standard. This is a comparable sale of one of the highest, on the highest magnitude in Portland. And an 88% drop of a building of that size is absolutely mind-blowing. It is like, what? How much? You got to be kidding me on those numbers. I'm a, real estate appraiser by trade. 88% drop in value. Talked to my dad earlier this morning because I wanted to kick this around with him. And he was asking, well, I wonder how much commercial property values dropped during the Great Depression, not the Great Recession that we just had, 2008, the Great Depression, because they didn't come anywhere close to this during the Great Recession, not even a fraction of this. Building went up for sale in May 2025. We covered that. Same week as the nearby Pac West Tower. You've got all of these big office complexes that have been hollowed out by remote work from home policy. And then you got street conditions in Portland, San Francisco, Seattle, LA, not very similar. You've got rough street conditions and nobody business owner-wise is wanting to bring their employees into a situation where they could get killed walking from wherever they're parking or going out to eat and walking back into the office. Yeah, that whole, they got stabbed by a lunatic doing shenanigans on the sidewalk. Nobody wants to deal with that. And so they go to cities where they don't have the street influence that Portland does, or Seattle. So May 2025, listings mark downtown Portland's uphill battle. Uphill battle, that's a nice way of saying it. How about massive decline with an office vacancy rate of 24.4%? Okay, that is low. And I think that's more like 35%. When looking solely at the central business district, yeah, here it is, including the downtown core where the two properties are, office vacancy rate is the highest in the country. Portland, highest in the country at the very small CBD, the central business district, at 34.7%. 35. So 1 out of 3 spaces is vacant, or, based on lease activity is vacant. How many of those businesses that have leases are not occupying those properties? Probably a bunch. Let's get into, this is Oregon Live. These are the plans. These are the owner's plans. Swicker's renovation plans might include a sky bridge from an adjacent parking lot to the offices, multi-floor experiences for tenants, fitness facilities, coffee shops, restaurants, and more. Changes might not happen quickly. Swickard cautioned, saying it could be 3 years to attract new tenants and secure permits. This is a long play. I mean, this is not an overnight flip. This is not a 1 week flip. We're going to come in, we're going to redo the hardwoods, we're going to paint it all up, and out, on we go. Swickard said he hoped to make downtown Portland the thriving center it was during his college years at the University of Oregon. One way to do that, he said, is by discounting rents in the building and attracting Portland suburb workers to the city instead. Okay? I just want to bring people back to downtown Portland, and I want the Big Pink to be what it once was. Just a really special place for people to come and do business and have dinner and enjoy themselves. Well, there's a couple of things going on with Portland. Taxation-wise, they are basically repelling businesses like there's no tomorrow. Businesses do not want to set up business in Portland. The ones that are working a way out to get out of Portland. So this guy is really going against the grain, but that's how you make money in real estate and big deals. You buy when everybody else is fleeing, and you sell when everybody else, it's the greatest thing ever, I'll take 2, right? shenanigans for the whole market. Swiss investment bank UBS had owned the property for a decade. Its partner Unico Properties of Seattle will continue to manage it. In 2023, former tenant Digital Trends alleged in a lawsuit that lapses in security left the building unsafe at times for its workers. Lawsuit has since been settled. 𝗧𝗜𝗘𝗠𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗕 says he plans on ensuring worker and building safety at the tower by continuing to spend money on private security. All right. But he's only got one building here, and he may have more, but I didn't come across anything indicating he did. He's got about 60 car dealerships. And the guy's a player, right? And I think this is a great move. But what media is focusing on is this is that lift that we need. Yes, but you got to pay bills with today's tax revenue and tomorrow's tax revenue, which is going to be based on these dropping values. It's like a mini police department in and around that building with our private security, he said. All right. That is the exact same thing that Jeff Bezos did with all of South Lake Union in downtown Seattle. South Lake Union, literally just south of South Lake Union. And then to the west is our downtown core where we've got the Blade. We've got all these businesses closing, Starbucks leaving, Amazon leaving. And they're going to areas where they can kind of control the streets by having massive amounts of buildings and private security all over. You can walk around South Lake Union all day long and night. I've walked many times from Climate Pledge Arena in downtown Seattle to South Lake Union, and it's fine. And it's because it's like a mini police department in and around that building with our private security. What about all the other buildings in downtown Portland that don't have that? Well, a lot of them do because they need it, but the owners are struggling because they don't have enough tenants because nobody wants to work in downtown Portland. And so, do we pay security or do we pay the utility bills? Those are real concerns of folks in Portland right now. 𝗧𝗜𝗘𝗠𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗬 plans to add to his Oregon real estate portfolio this year, saying he would spend nearly $100 million on investments in the state. He did not disclose any other transactions. All right. 𝗧𝗜𝗘𝗠𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗬 plans to hold focus groups and talk with tenants in the U.S. Bancorp Tower. We're not building flippers, he said. We want to own this for a very long time. I love Oregon. Well, I'm going to find out long term if that's viable. So meanwhile, you got one sale here and a massively discounted sale at that. And that is going to prompt other sales because this is one of the best comps out there. It's one of the biggest buildings, right? This is what it's going for. It's what it's selling for. You're going to have a ton of other smaller buildings go for less. Go for less. Less. Yeah. So long term, this is going to take a long time to kind of work our way through. But this is literally the beginning of how those cycles go. But they're usually not at such discounted rates like this. But this guy's got to be close to a billionaire. If you're stroking a check for 45 and you're going to put another 100 into it, unless he's got a bunch of partners and he's got 60 dealerships, car dealerships, guy's doing something right? So he's willing to come in and take this down. Other properties are going to get taken down as well because it kind of creates that vacuum. And that all goes to, at the lower pricing, your tax revenue, all the money it takes to run downtown Portland, all the money it takes to run, all the stuff in, the county. A lot of this tax money goes to lots of different things. And you've already got a city that's, not doing anything to protect its federal building. And right now, that is a real hot potato because Tom Homan is coming to town because he's looking at Portland going, what are you guys doing? And everybody else is looking at Portland as well going, what are you guys doing? Why aren't you allowing your, police force to basically get rid of Antifa? They've got all kinds of this craziness going on. They've got super loud noises that they're running 24/7, at the federal building in Portland. And leadership is like, we want to allow free speech. Yeah, well, the local residents are getting pretty upset. I've got a complete video on that. They don't want to deal with this nonsense, and guaranteed big business doesn't want to deal with this stuff. Now, this guy's Portland local that's buying it, right? Or was at one time. So he gets it. He's like, a little protest never hurt anybody. But then when you can't attract clients, when you can't attract tenants to your building that's 60% vacant, it's when the rubber hits the road and like, this makes sense. And I think long term it does, but in the short term, it's not all this giddy, look, Portland's turning around. It's going to get worse before it gets better is the bottom line. It's going to get worse before it gets better. That's just reality. There's nobody that's going to come in and, do a magic ding, like what was it, Bewitched? My mom didn't like me watching that show because it was about a witch. Yeah, fair enough. And what would she do? She would like do her nose or something or wrinkle her nose and magic spell would happen. There's nobody around to do the wand or the magic nose to make all of Portland's issues go away. And the fact that it sold at a discount of 88% kind of tells you how bad Portland's problems are. Yeah, it's not looking all that great. Here's another one. This is what we'll end with. Portland's DEI policies could cost the city hundreds of millions in federal grants. So you got the spotlight on Portland because they're allowing Antifa to basically protest nightly at the ICE building. You got a bunch of DEI policies that are not going to be good for the city. Portland could lose out on nearly $400 million in federal grant money because of a conflict between federal rules and the city's equity policies. DEI. Portland has already decided not to sign one federal grant agreement to avoid breaking its own policies. So, and what are those policies? Restrictions on race-based equity language. Toss it. Get rid of it. Rollbacks on protections for transgender people. Absolutely. Penalties for sanctuary cities that limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. Even Karen Bass today mentioned, maybe it was a news conference yesterday, mayor of LA. She indicated, I am not really all that sure that we can keep being a sanctuary city because the writing is on the wall. Writing is on the wall. With Trump basically going after all the DEI and the sanctuary nonsense, transgender nonsense, getting rid of all of that. Big sanctuary cities, and Portland is one of them, are going to suffer. And this is a time when buildings are selling for 88% of their value, which nobody's really going to talk about because, oh, good Lord, that is something. That is a number. That is a number. Wow. Holy cow. And then you've got, everybody there hating Trump because this is Portland, keep Portland weird, and it's blue. And yet Trump is just going to come in and he's going to send, he's going to send ICE there. And he's going to take a look at what's happening with Trump's going to take a look with Holman coming in and taking a look at Portland. And then they know they may not get close to, what is it, 400 million in federal funding. 126 active federal grants totaling $387 million, more than 90% of which is invested in housing and transportation. Your bread and butter, just running your city. So on top of losing possibly that and a massive whack from the taxation, Portland's going to have some tricky times. So I'm going to devote an entire podcast to the financial implications of what this looks like because I think that needs to be one whole podcast because this is going on all across the United States, just not necessarily at an 88% discount. What? That's what I'm going to leave you with. Yeah, that's a crazy number. All right, that's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Love to have you subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.